Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto, Willies. Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Welcome to Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. Good morning to every nook and cranny in Northeast Texas, Southeast Texas, Northeast Louisiana, Southeast Louisiana that receives the signals from our 100,000 watt transmitter, that we have great people here in Texas and throughout the world supporting to ensure we can tell the truth, to ensure that at least there's one station in the vicinity that is out there not kowtowing to a plutocracy, to a very minute group that is here and misleading and having people vote against their own interests. Truth is in the air. And of course, great good morning to the entire world, which with the magic of the internet can hear us, listen to us, and everything else going that way. Before we get started with a great program that we have to go to Caroline Street, Caroline, to the geniuses in the studio, that even through tribulations over tribulations, lightning storms, down internets, whatever it takes, we have a guy, one person that runs around to make sure things happen. And we have one of the greatest, what am I going to call him today? And I hope he sees the positive in what I say. The Batman and Robin team, the geniuses, Los Genios en el estudio. El señor Howard Reynolds and Jacques Van Bibber. Buenos dias.
Jack is more the Superman here. I am just the Robin.
Okay. He's had a couple of rough days.
I've had a couple of rough days. AT&T has managed to ruin my life, or what's left of it, with their outage up there in Northwest Houston. And have you ever tried to call AT&T customer service?
Oh, forget it. This is your time. Let me tell you something. Let me ask you something, Howard, because when I see all these things that you're going through right now, if I want to humbly say this, right? These are things that happen because these guys at AT&T and other places refuse to want to hire, number one, competent people because they cost money, and number two, to keep absolutely all those free dollars they get from subscriptions and not give you customer service. And they have you exactly where they want you, and they disrupt your life when things don't work. If it were the government, people would be saying, government don't work. But we have private companies and hospitals and everything doing exactly disrupting your life like that. And in our psyche, we can't see that it's never really government, but those folks. Sorry for the rant on top of you, in front of you, sir, okay. But I feel what you feel, sir.
I'm feeling a great deal of frustration and aggravation. I don't care if they're competent or not. I just wish I could understand them. Because I don't know what country they're in, but it ain't an English-speaking country. So, yeah, I run into the firewall of AT&T's customer service trying to get something done. And it's like, really? Come on, folks. I mean, I've given you the account number. I've given you everything possible. Oh, well, what is this? And what is your favorite restaurant? What is the security question? I don't know what it is. I've given you the account. I'm telling you there's a problem. Please fix it. So anyway, that's my irritation today is AT&T. And this has been going on now for 2 days. 2 days we have had no internet at the transmitter. I've got a rig out there that I'm using a T-Mobile box for one of those 5G boxes. This little thing is performing quite well. I'm very pleased with it. I got to go back out there today and do some reconfiguring to keep it on the air because I want to leave town this weekend. I don't want to be here. Right. So anyway, that's about all I got to say because I'm really too tired. I was woken up twice last night by one of our programmers. I mean, rightfully so. His show was on. It wasn't working. I was able to fix it once from home, but the second time I had to go to the transmitter at 1 o'clock in the morning and reset a piece of equipment and then come back and go to sleep for a couple of hours and then come up here and do this. And Jack didn't sleep well either. He said he didn't sleep very well because he must have been feeling sympathy pains for me driving in the dark down a dirt road to a transmitter. Like, holy cow.
Maybe that was it.
Yeah, that probably was it. You were having sympathy pains. So
pregnancy
me no more.
Pains, man.
Tell me what your wisdom is today, Jack. It's got to be better than my rant.
Well, I didn't get your letter this morning, Egberto, so I kind of...
Oh, really?
Yeah, okay. Well, Project 2025 is a poison pill for America. Why does the right want to eliminate the Department of Education? This is an attack on our children. Why does the right want to ban books and words? They're attacking free speech. Why does the right want to put more prisoners to death? Man, I just don't get that one. The criminalization of women's reproductions. Why? Why are their rights being curtailed? The right means to rule, not govern. They mean to oppress, not free the people.
Amen.
That's what I see. That's how I see it.
Of course, now sometimes some of these governmental departments need to be gotten rid of or rebuilt because they do get into the quagmire. But I'm going to reserve my comments for You Talk, which I will be doing today with Jack's help, and Michael Woodson will be in, and. Well, we'll just talk on You Talk about that stuff.
Well, that is great. I heard you on You Talk on Friday. Man, I tell you, that was some good talking, sir. That's all I got to tell you. That was some good talking on You Talk on Friday. Friday.
Thank you. I'm a reluctant talk show host.
Well, you know what?
I don't like music shows.
I'm gonna mess with you, folks. This is a guy who doesn't like talk shows. He likes music and playing contemporary stuff and old stuff and all of that. And I remember when he started doing the show and all of that. I in the beginning I didn't know he didn't like talk shows because he's such a diplomatic person. Howard we're talking about. But I realized after doing stuff for a while, the man doesn't particularly go for talk shows, and he does it. And he does it so well.
Well, thank you, sir. We've hijacked your show long enough here, so.
All right. Listen,
I'm going to turn it back over to you.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate you. I appreciate Jack. Anyway, folks, listen to this. The title of the show today is We're Last Barrier to Fascism. Not anybody else but us. And I'm sorry you didn't get the newsletter. I went ahead and just checked it, and it did go out to several thousand people. So please look in your spam box for those who are subscribed and didn't get the newsletter. Please check it out if it's in your spam or something, Jack. But anyhow, the second topic is it's our economy, not the billionaires. And Pelumi Adeleke for HCAD3. This is a woman who was running for the Harris County Appraisal District number 3 that Neil Aquino spoke about yesterday. It's a local election that folks need to make sure to participate in to ensure that further on rigging of our tax system by those who would starve the beast, if you will, doesn't succeed. We have Alizarian Dreams in the chat. Welcome aboard. And we also have Billy Allison Irwin. Welcome aboard in the chat. Thank you guys for being here. So I'm going to start with an interview that I did with Professor Manuel Pastor from University of Southern California, USC, distinguished guy that whenever, there are a lot of different professors that I try to get in touch with, speak with, have conversation with about issues, because again, I call these guys the scientists, right? By training, I'm an engineer, and the smartest people in the world are scientists, right? They go ahead and they look at a subject and they dissect that one subject. They don't build things per se in the aggregate, but the scientist knows the subject they're talking about from the inside out. Engineers are what I call sometimes I even call engineers plagiarists, right? But it's not so. It's just that they probably should be called the aggregators, because what they do is they use the knowledge of many different scientists, all that great information, all that great intellect. They have the canny ability to put it all together into something useful for society. That's engineering versus the engineer versus the scientist. The engineer needs to know a little bit about everything so that they can make something out of those individual scientists who knows everything about their particular subject. It's a great symbiotic relationship. So I'm the engineer. I speak to the guys who know, the professors and the persons in the field, etc. And I really wanted to discuss an article that this professor wrote in one of these online magazines, because it was of extreme importance for us as a society, especially in these times. So since we have one call, I'm going to start with that call, then I'll go do our 15-minute interview. So let's go ahead and talk to Johnny, and then we'll move to the interview. Johnny, come on in, Mayor of Politics Done Right.
Yes, Mr. President, I am here reporting for duty, along with the co-genii at the Caroline Studio, formerly as the Lovett Studio. Too bad we can't rename Caroline Lovett, because Lovett makes so much sense in the Bohemian style. Anyway, so to dovetail with what Arnie Arneson was talking about a short while ago, and believe it or not, to dovetail with what our right-wing callers like Brian and Hey Joe and one of the, not Steve's, what's his name? Donald, one of the Donalds. So this is for you guys. While I don't hate George Bush, I would actually play pool with him and have a beer with him, even though he's a certified war criminal. I do justifiably, correctly hate Donald Trump. Donald Trump is deserving of my hate and the hate of at least 100 million other Americans. Here's why. Because he is a lifelong con man and a career criminal. He's pathological. He's greedy and selfish. He betrays his own family, and that's just like was said by Arnie Arneson, he will betray you. Why wouldn't he betray you? He betrayed his own wife. His own wife, who was nursing their child. What kind of a man? Why would you align yourself with someone like that? We're not talking about Reverend Wright and Barack Obama. We're talking about a lifelong con man who has laundered money for the New York and Russian mobs. He, under the tutelage of that Roy Cohen, I think that was his name, the lawyer who died of AIDS back in the 80s.
Yeah, that's Roy Cohen. Yeah. Roy Cohn.
Yeah, under that guy's tutelage, Donald Trump learned how to read people, to understand how vulnerable they are, and to blackmail them, always get material on them. That's why he advanced so well. But he has gone overboard, and that's why he's meeting some justice now. But we have yet to see justice being meted out. Until he's eating a bologna sandwich in a prison cell next to a dirty sink, justice has yet to be seen. You guys, our fellow time travelers on the right-wing side of the aisle, you guys need to wake up. Remember that movie, Colonel Nathan Jessup, You Can't Handle the Truth? No, you guys, I hate to say it, you guys can't handle the truth. Not me. You have to explain to me why Donald Trump is worthy of staying free. And that's all I have to say. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Johnny. Appreciate you. Now, look, for civility's sake, first of all, I try to temper some of what I say. However, what Johnny is saying has a whole lot of merit that one has to get to, and I try to understand and how such a flawed, unintellectual person can, get so many. And the thing about it is there are two groups that support Trump, right? The ones that are in it simply because they know that this guy is immoral enough, carefree enough that he will do whatever to make those people, those select people, specifically wealthy people, even wealthier. I remember when you talk about Bush, I remember one used to think that Bush was so very dumb, and I'm talking about the second one. The first Bush was a very intelligent dude, but again, still carrying some of the flaws that we consider flaws on the right. But he was a very intelligent guy. When it comes to the son, not so much so. But there's one thing I realized about the son, and that is George W. Bush, the Bush that's still living. He did have a conscience, even though sometimes he ruled against that conscience. When his second term started and the forever tax cuts came from the plutocracy. We need a tax cut. We need a tax cut. Bush in just sort of pissed off said, we gave those darn people their tax cuts already. How much more do they want? That was Bush saying that. So, I mean, Donald Trump takes it to another level. On every box that you check, he's flawed. But again, psychology is a very important thing. And how you mix psychology and carnality and also when you convince folks that there's a flawed savior that will come to help you gain back something you really never had, it's a powerful thing. And that is what many don't understand. It has gender connotation, racial connotation, and all of that placed into a soup. Doesn't add up to the majority of the country, but it adds up to what could be, if not worked very hard on, an electoral college win. And that is what we have to fight for. That is why we are here. That is why, personally, I'm so committed to this. One of the reasons also that I'm so personally committed to speak to everybody and make everybody an ally, make everybody a friend, make everybody a loved one. It's because just looking at the opposition and calling out the opposition and saying you're so wrong, that's not the magic, or that's not going to do it for us all at all. We have to, as corny as it might seem, we have to have understanding among people. What are people's real fears? Vote on the left and the right. What are your real fears? And how do we supersede the real fears? How do we show people that we are all in the same boat together? How do we show men we all put on our pants the same way? And that macho thing, that patriarchal thing that we have been led to believe is the only way because of religion and many other stuff. How do we break that? That is how we are going to have to make a change. Letting folks know that we are, in fact, our brother's keeper. I have to feel a responsibility, and let's use a few names of our callers who I love dearly, and I mean that from the depths of my heart. I have to be my brother's keeper, whether that be Joe, Brian, or Johnny or Harry. You guys know those names because they call all of the times. Those are my brothers. I've got to be my brother's keeper, and we should all learn to feel that we are our brother's keeper. We are a community. Anyhow, let's go ahead and get to El Señor Manuel Pastor, and we'll take it from there. Welcome to another edition of Politics and Right. I'm Egberto, Willies, your host. Today, we have the honor once again to have Dr. Manuel Pastor. Dr. Manuel Pastor is a distinguished professor of sociology and American Studies and Ethnicity at the University of Southern California. He currently directs the Equity Research Institute at USC. Pastor holds an economics PhD from the University of Massachusetts Amherst and is the inaugural holder of the Turpingian Chair in Civil Society and Social Change at USC. Welcome to Politics Done Right, Professor.
Siempre un placer estar contigo.
Muchísimas gracias por estar aquí también, hermano. Anyway, look, you. One of the reasons I contacted you is you wrote a piece in Common Dreams, and I imagine you have it syndicated many other places, but that's where I found it. And it was titled, Elon Musk Shows Us Why Individuals Can't Save the World. And I made that the topic of one of my shows at KPFT 90.1 FM Houston, because in that article, you nailed it. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the article and why you thought at this time it was necessary to write?
Well, I mean, I guess one thing is that Elon Musk is trying to get all that money now from his board, but that wasn't the reason for the article. The reason is that I think that there's a story about Musk and others that's a very individualistic story about swashbuckling, adventuristic capitalists sort of marching through an Ayn Rand novel, inventing new industries, and, being able to essentially capture all the benefits from that and be deserving of that. But I think it's really important to realize that Elon Musk has actually benefited significantly from public largesse. His company, SpaceX, relies on federal contracts for those rockets. And Tesla, for its first 12 years, the only reason it was able to survive was because of air credits having to do with companies that couldn't meet lower emission standards. It instead paid Tesla to meet government requirements for them. And the reason why their electric vehicles are selling so well is because there's a public mandate for us to deal with climate. So I think kind of thing I'm trying to inject into the conversation is to recognize how it is that the public actually helps to craft these markets. And it's individuals like Elon Musk who are not going to save us.
Professor, you said something that I think a lot of people don't understand. There was a false, people look at, rugged individualism and capitalism, and the best product survives and the market dictates what the products are, etc. And what you've just said, I don't think, you kind of just said it in passing that I think people need to understand. Because of government regulation, the companies that make cars that pollute the air could buy credits by having their money invested or passed on to Musk and his Tesla to offset the dirt that they're throwing out. Yeah. People don't get it. In other words, they created a manufactured demand for him to make a huge profit based on the law, correct?
Yes, that's the way that it played out. And I think there's this kind of sense, there's this story that what's going on is that when we look at an economy that's growing, that the reason it's growing is because of these private entrepreneurs. And I do not want to deny the fact that Musk has been brilliant at times. But it's important to realize he got kicked out of his first company, PayPal, for mismanagement, and wound up using those funds to get into other adventures. The other private company that he's really bought into, Twitter, he's pretty much run into the ground. So I don't know how brilliant that is compared to the two companies, SpaceX and Tesla, that were created as a result of public policy and public will. And you're right, the way that he made money initially for Tesla was that companies that were producing as guzzlers said, well, we want to keep producing them, and we cannot meet the emissions standards that the federal government has for us. So instead, what we're going to do is pay for Musk to make electric vehicles, and he won't make a profit on them. But the reason that they're paying for it is because of federal policy. The bigger point is that the story we tell ourselves that the economy is the result of just individual initiative and companies. It's actually a result of public policy and private initiative. This was driven home to me the other day. I was in a meeting, and it was about a bunch of companies that are interested in investing in the green economy space, electric vehicles, electric chargers, everything having to do with the green economy. And what they said, the company owners, was they were celebrating the Inflation Reduction Act, the bill that was put in place by Biden, which is giving us billions and millions of dollars in incentives to go green. They were saying it's really great that the government did that. Now the government should get out. And it's a stark contradiction between saying this government created the market, now we want them to get out of the way. No regulations, no wage standards, no community benefits, because we want to just jump into the market that they created. That's a contradiction. And what we need to do is to stop telling ourselves this story about the swashbuckling entrepreneur, to tell ourselves a more realistic story about how we need to combine public policy, public investments with private initiative and markets to yield an outcome that's beneficial for all of us.
I mean, I don't think I could have said it any better. And the thing about it, however, is that the people that are promoting the message, it's almost like a cabal of all the corporatists that promote that message. And it doesn't matter what type of, it seems like it doesn't matter what type of corporations you're from, whether it's in the medical industry, the auto industry, the energy industry, they all would like to come to the belief that somehow they're omnipotent and they created the space, when the reality is, from the drug companies to the manufacturers of appendages, etc., they all, most of the times, the genesis of said innovation came from your tax dollar and my tax dollar. You say?
I have an iPhone.
Right.
When you think about the iPhone, what often gets celebrated is the genius of Steve Jobs and Apple. And let's give them some credit. Half of the patents in this iPhone actually come from chips and silicon and things that were created as a result of federal investments in research and development. All the profits go to Apple. What about some of the returns to those of us who made the investments to make this happen? So it's a very simple message about how do we strike a balance. The problem, Egberto, is that what's gone on is that we've been brainwashed in a very particular way to think that it's all private initiative and it's all the market. We wrote a book that came out a couple of years ago. One of the points of the book, which I think is really crucial in this conversation.
Give us the name of your book. Give us the name of your book, please.
The name of the book is Solidarity Economics, Why Mutuality and Movements Matter. And there is a website, solidarityeconomics.org, where you can download for free a copy of the book. That's solidarity with your readers. We also have on that website a comic book version in English and in Spanish. So you can give it to your kids, give it to people who don't read books, etc. But one of the central messages of the book is that we need to stop talking about the economy and always talk about our economy. When we talk about the economy, it makes it sound like a set of rules out there given by God, nature, or the market.
Oh, yes.
We simply cannot change them. But it's our economy. We made these rules about what kind of private property we're going to protect, how much we're going to value the environment, what the wage standards are going to be, how many community benefits we expect. When we say our economy, we see all of us in it as creators and as benefactors and as beneficiaries of this economy.
It's amazing. You mentioned your book. I have a couple of them that I did. As I see it, Class Warfare, the only resort to right-wing doom, and the How to Make America Utopia, take away the economy from those who rigged it. And one of the essential things is similar to what you're saying, and that is we have a tendency to believe that the economy is divine. The economy has never been divine. It has always been man-created, and this time I'm even including gender. It's a man-created economy that actually afforded rights to some, and that some is just a very few, and the rest for all practical purposes, no matter how much you want to think you have, some level of what I always call antiseptic slavery. I mean, as a professor, you'll tell me, Egberto, don't say that. But, I call employment in the current state antiseptic slavery. But my friend, I don't think there are many people out there that are expressing the wordiology that you're putting out there. There are several other professors I try to work with that are clean cut in the way that they express this. And I can't express to you how important that is, especially in these times. But what we have to have, in my humble opinion, is your word, your books, your manuscripts, your speeches has to be platformed in such a manner that it really gets out there as wide as possible. So your thoughts on that, and what recommendations do you have of how the hell do we really get all of this done?
Well, I think if you really want to change, and I'm sure this is the topic of your books, if you particularly given those titles, if you really want to change our current economic arrangements, it's clear that we need power. We need laborers to have more power, workers and unions. We need communities to have more power. We need our planet to be respected and have more power in the conversation. So we strike a better balance. Now, one of the things I think is part of power is, of course, the power of arm wrestling, power of politics. So I think that one of the things that the power of language is important about is, again, when we say our economy instead of the economy, it's a big shift. When we make the point that addressing inequity is actually good for prosperity, it's not just a question of justice, fairness, or being a liberal do-gooder, but you know that the level of over-incarceration we've got in the United States is tossing away talent. You know that a broken immigration system, or one that does not let people who want to work in at our borders to fill the jobs in a booming economy, it's actually going to cost us output. You know that underinvestment in the schools where our Black and brown youngsters go, particularly low-income kids, if we don't invest in those schools, we're shortchanging our productivity for the future. So one of the things that we who are progressives need to be doing is to really think about language and to think about how it is we can make the argument that equity is actually good for prosperity for most of us. And how do we shift the language? For example, there's a big debate about artificial intelligence. And what I like to say is there's nothing artificial or intelligent about it. Really, what artificial intelligence is theft. It's large language models scraping the internet, taking all the knowledge of the commons, and then trying to privatize that to sell it back to you without a return to you for whatever you've contributed to that commons. By the way, this is a lot like the moment of the foundation of capitalism in England, when the commons, the lands where everybody would graze their sheep, was actually taken over by landlords and turned into their own private land to be able to graze large herds and take that wool from the sheep and feed it into factories building clothing. And that was kind of the beginning of capitalism. We're seeing the emergence of another kind of new capitalism now by enclosing the commons of human knowledge and trying to privatize it for private gain. So we need to have a different.
Oh my God, that was like manna from heaven, brother. That was like manna from heaven. I am going to close it there. Dr. Manuel Pastor, I think that last statement on AI is the statement that needs to go around the world. Thank you so kindly for having been on Politics Done Right.
That's it.
That's it, Mano. All right, folks. I hope you enjoyed that. But I mean, there are two things. I mean, when he spoke about AI, the big fear of AI, I had mentioned, I think you guys hear us mention before about AI. We should use AI for reducing work weeks and all that sort of stuff, because again, that's the reality, right? You heard the young woman that came onto the program and spoke about that, Jasmine Ahmed, came on, and a Gen Z person came on and spoke in that nature of AI as well. But he said it best. It's the commons. It's an attempt at privatizing the commons again. And what that means is taking something that belongs to all of that somebody or some entity takes something that belongs to all of us combined, and then trying to sell it back to us and making a profit off of it. The essence of the economic system as we have it today. All of you do the work. All of you look in the streets, look on the freeways right now. It's a whole bunch of people going to sell their worth for just a piece of the action, while somebody sits up in that tower and they make a piece of everything you do. And then they tell you, I don't want to pay taxes on that so that your kids can have health care, so that your kids can have somewhere to stay. We have to unindoctrinate ourselves. This morning, I'm coming to you, Donald, in a minute, and Augie. This morning, I heard a piece from an author. I don't remember the name of the book right now. And he gave a critique of what's happening here in America. And he met a lot of pushback on MSNBC. But what he said is something that I took a lot of heat for saying. And that is, our democracy, which we like to talk about being strong, was never all that strong from its inception. And for those of us who study what our founding fathers did, etc., we ought to remember there's an electoral college. Another way of saying, I don't trust the masses. There was indirect elections of senators. I don't trust the masses. There was the inability of women to vote. I don't trust, or rather, the masses. There's so much that we like to overlook based on the stories we've been told. Look, America has constantly been changing and bending towards what the arc of justice, as Martin Luther King would have said. But we didn't start there. I was 3/5 of a person. We didn't start with great freedoms. We didn't start with these things. We start with those who controlled something and said we needed to make sure that a particular sect was taken care of, but not all. That's just the reality. Donald, come on in.
Morning, Egberto.
Good morning, my brother. I'm fine, my brother. Talk to me.
Okay, everybody should know the scientific method. And the way the schools are ran is why nobody is intelligent, because 3, 4, 5 is how you get square by a carpenter, but that's Pythagorean theorem. And it's in music also. It has its own mode. There is no education to figure out where, as I told you with Benjamin Franklin, you will see, because in one of his letters or newspaper articles, he tells you to make the next steps. If you take those next steps and you choose to, you will become educated and enlightened. But y'all wanted all this government. Big government gives you restrictions with the EPA, car manufacturing. That's why you can't get an affordable car right now. Now, one thing I've got to say is, have you seen a body bag and a shovel deploy when a motorcycle has a wreck? How come it doesn't go to the motorcycle? It's always the car, more fuel efficiency. And this is what they do, is they figure out how to get their cut of the money, is why they're giving the money out to these specific individuals to create something. And I'm more worried about the bricks than the garbage going on over there and up in Washington. And you're just going to have to put somebody in there that's going to make it.
Okay, brother Donald, let me just say this, okay? I have a lot more faith in government than you do, I'm pretty sure, because I want to be an active participant in government, because I am the government. You are the government. There are a lot of people that rested when Obama got elected. They sighed. And when they sighed, they said, okay, I can rest now. Not understanding the reality. Obama was just the instantiation of government of which you had to control. I call all politicians empty vessels waiting to be filled with what the people want. And if the people don't perform, if the people don't go out there and do as they should, that government is existing in a vacuum of the few that are willing to fill that space. I differ with you, my brother, in this respect. The belief that you have that you want government out of the way, in effect, is saying, I want Donald to have no voice. I want that if a small group of people pollute the water that Donald needs, to hell with it. If Donald can't go fight for it himself, well, Donald's going to drink that polluted water. If the streets and the roads, the wealthy or the ones with capital decide that they will make toll roads going forward, Donald just have to say, please at least make it that I can afford it. No, government is the thing. We should want government more powerful than any private, individual, falsely created entity called a corporation. Why? Because we, the people, you, Donald, me, Howard, Jack, we should be the ones that say what kind of economy we want, what kind of products we want, not supply side, demand side. And when we indoctrinate ourselves from the belief that Elon Musk or somebody else has the answers, which they don't, even Elon Musk, when we talk about SpaceX, when we talk about what's his other Tesla, this is Elon Musk being a government onto the individual citizens whose intellect he has abused, whose intellect he has profited from, whose work and labor he has monopolized, not because he inherently knows what to do. Elon Musk doesn't know how to program a computer. There's an article out there when he took over Twitter, and when the programmers told him how certain things could and could not be implemented, he didn't have a clue. But he's the one who runs the damn place, and he's the one who makes material decisions on these issues. And the same, I'm going to hit up your good friend a bit. The same with Donald Trump. We have a lot of people that we have been given power over our own stability, who themselves don't know what the hell they're doing. Finish up for me, my brother Donald, so I can go ahead and go to Augie. Donald, you're on. Donald. Did we lose Donald? Let's go to Augie then. Hello? Yeah, Augie, come on in. All right. What I'm trying to say is the following. We have been told a whole lot of things. And it's hard to change one's belief system. It is very hard to change one belief system when you've been hit with it and indoctrinated your entire life. And that is the only way, however, we are going to be able to move forward. For the studio, I still don't have Augie, and I still don't know if I have the information otherwise. So what we'll do is we'll see. I tell you what we'll do. We are having some technical problems. As you know, you heard Howard talk about all the issues that we've been having. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the Pelumi Adeleke interview and see if we get it resolved. Unfortunately, that's going to be close to the end of the hour, but let's go ahead and do that right this minute. Welcome to another edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. As you know, there are several elections that we had over the last few weeks, and we've been talking about the Harris County. We call it the Harris County Appraisal District, but I think that it's really stands for something else. It's an important election that very few people are talking about, but that we expect people to go vote in. We have somebody special here today who is running for one of the positions on the Harris County Appraisal District Board, and she's going to tell us why she is running, and she has good reasons to do so. Welcome to Politics Done Right, Ms. Adeleke. How are you doing this afternoon?
I'm good, Egberto. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, look, one of the reasons I wanted you on the program is that these are elections that many people don't know about. And it's generally that way because they want to have the people who are in the district, the people who want to have say in the district, that they would have a lot more sway if we have an election that many don't know about. Tell us first a little bit about what HCAD stands for and why you decided to run.
Sure, absolutely. So HCAD was previously Harris County's appraisal district, and a couple of years ago was renamed Harris Central Appraisal District. And that was because folks were confusing it with Harris County. In any case, what this entity does, this government entity does, is that it oversees our property valuations, which is key, right, to the property taxes that we pay as Harris County residents. So the board oversees the entire operations. The board meets once a month and approves the budget for the district. That is anything that has to do with the appraisers coming to the homes and doing all that work to get your property valuations out, which you get at the beginning of the year. This is a direct link, right, to the property taxes that we pay. And it's also a direct link to how much our city schools, our county schools, our vital, crucial services such as police and firemen and health, it is key to how those are funded with the property taxes, especially the schools. The board itself doesn't do individual valuations, but it does oversee the process, appoints the chief appraisers, and appoints the folks that sit in the property flow test process, the panel board. I'm running because as a homeowner, I've experienced firsthand the grievances that a lot of folks, I'm sure, have also experienced with HCAD. So there is a need for us to improve, and I'm running to make the system more fair and transparent, especially for homeowners and small business owners. I have homes here. I'm a small business owner and business leader. I have a background as a certified public accountant and an MBA from Harvard Business School. And I thought this was an area where I can certainly make a positive difference in our community. And that's why I decided to run.
No, I love that you said that you're deeply committed to addressing the present concerns that have left a lot of residents feeling unheard. That seems to be the central point in not only home ownership and not only taxation, but in many other areas. What do you think you can bring that your opponent won't? What is it that gives you the sensibility to say, I know that I'm closer to the people than you are?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm, first of all, a community advocate. I started a community partners program for small businesses to give them mentoring, advocacy, access to capital, a lot of things that small businesses and minority-owned businesses are challenged with in Houston. And as a Democrat, I espouse the values of transparency and fairness. For example, in neighborhoods really close to mine, where we started to see, I'm in West Houston, and parts of East Downtown, folks who are losing their generational homes because of the property burdens of higher property valuations. We have folks who are not educated, and I've heard severally on this campaign about the homestead exemptions. My background creating transparency in public and private entities allow me to be able to provide that education, which is part of the HCAD budget right now, and they've not done a great job of educating folks. There are about 300 to 600 people in the county who do not take advantage of those homestead exemptions. And so they are paying more than their fair share. And then we also see what's going on with our school district being, especially HISD, underfunded. I think people want to get the value that they are paying for, and not be unfairly burdened as homeowners. When some folks are getting breaks, they're able to, the corporations are able to litigate and get settlements, and homeowners are paying more than their fair share. So I believe I have the strong expertise and community dedication And I also espouse the values of democracy, of fairness, of equity, which my opponent does not have. She's aligned more with folks like the MAGA extremists who want to take over the district and defund our schools. And so my values, I believe, are more closely aligned with Harris County residents, and folks should vote for me because I will be their voice on this board.
It is important what you just said. And the reason why is there's this commentary that you would hear many times on the right, and that is starve the beast. In effect, if you starve the beast, which means let's go ahead and take as much away from those who would give you a tax base so that everything is privatized. And you're saying that, no, you want things done fairly, not overtaxed, but not untaxed as well. So speak a little bit more about that.
Yes, absolutely. So the board positions that we're running for, there's 3 new elected positions, was included in a bill that we all voted on last fall. Now, the stipulation around these positions came in at the end, and many people, even many legislators, did not know that these 3 positions were included in that bill. It was shepherded by Paul Benningcourt, and their goal, including how the election came to be, the date on which it was set, all but guarantee that it'll be a low, voter turnout, and so that they'll be able to put their folks in there. Dan Patrick, our lieutenant governor, has said they want to get rid of property taxes.
Exactly.
And so you can see the direct line between what they're saying in defunding our schools. We all want to pay lower taxes, sure, but that has an impact on the value of the services we get, the value of our schools. And eventually, if you're thinking about your pocket, if you don't have the crucial services in your neighborhood, in your area, then the eventual value of your home will go down. And so every homeowner, everyone in Harris County should be concerned about this.
What you just showed, Pelumi, and I hope I said your name correctly.
That's right. Yes.
Okay. What you just said is what's known as critical thinking, smart thinking. And I want everybody that's listening to this interview to understand something specific here. You may save money if you follow the Betancourts of the world, or the protégés of Betancourt, which are ultimately the protégés of Abbott and these right-wing legislators. You may save $1 or $2 in taxes, but you will pay the price in the value of your home, orders of magnitude more than the taxes you purportedly saved. So let's be clear here. It matters who you vote for. It matters that you understand what you're voting for. Anyway, anything else you'd like to say, Ms. Adeleke, before we close this interview?
Absolutely. I know and I recognize that many folks are feeling the pinch with the pandemic, with inflation, and want relief. And thankfully, we've gotten some tax relief. I'm committed and dedicated to ensuring that valuations are fair, that common sense, that we understand what it is. You can advocate for yourself better. I'm committed to sharing more information and shedding light on what is happening in there, so that you know how it's impacting you and who you should vote for, and how you can advocate in the town halls. We don't want to pay high taxes, but we'll pay a fair share, not a penny more. And I'm committed to making sure that we continue to have affordable housing here in Houston. So please vote. Early voting has started June 3rd to June 11th. Early voting is already on right now, and the election date is on June 15th. And I'm in place 3, Pelumi Adeleke.
Adeleke, and how can they reach to find out more about you, Ms. Adeleke?
Yes, you can get to my website. It's Pelumi Adeleke. That's Adele with a KE.com. And all the information on there, as well as places you can vote. You can vote on Harris Vote. You can find out on harrisvotes.com where to vote.
Pelumi Adeleke, position 3 on HCAD. Thank you so kindly for having been on Politics Done Right.
Thank you so much, Egberto. Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
All right, folks, I hope you enjoyed that interview. Don't forget, you have to vote. Voted is still active, and the election, I believe, is on the, I think it's on 15, but verified, go to Harris Votes, harrisvotes.com. Anyway, folks, we're still having some technical issues in the studio, which is one of the reasons that we cannot get you on the phone. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, you can hear me now.
Yeah, I can hear you, Howard.
Yeah, we're just having some issues back here. AT&T has struck the studio again here. The remote control for the computer that you were on was not working, so I had to switch over to Active Desktop, and well, it's working here.
Well,
I think it just cut on our. I think it just cut out something.
Well, anyway. let me just point it out, folks. I want to thank Howard for his enduring support. Anyway, love you guys. We got to get out of here. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out. Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willies.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.